Good evening and welcome to a new edition of To The Point. With us this evening is a distinguished gentleman, Engineer Hassan Shaaban, former Vice Chairman of Al-Wafd Party, in addition to many other titles. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Today is a very special day in Egyptian history. It marks the January 25th revolution, but before the revolution, it is the police day. Egyptians have always felt the contribution of the police force in their lives, especially maybe the new generation as well, have seen this in 2011. In your opinion, how has the Egyptian police contributed and, more importantly, evolved?
Actually, in the beginning of the events at that time, people did not really realize what was going on and how big it's going to grow. So the police acted in a traditional way, trying to control things. But as it developed, the police realized that this is the people are expressing their feelings and their ideas, and they're seeking freedom and dignity and so forth. And I think the withdrawal of the Egyptian police during this era was very wise to avoid a bigger conflict. The police had the capability of being aggressive, but that was not the idea, because the slogan that the police always raised, that the police is in the service of the people.
Yes.
This is number one. And the police did not really had to prove anything, because all of us knew what's the meaning of the 25th of January, because the event that we celebrated is the clash between the police and the occupation forces in the Suez Canal area and the Ismailia. So the police have proven that he's capable of facing the British troops were there. So though the police had the capability of facing the pressures, but it did not really happen, because I think the ties between the people and the police were obvious. A lot of people do not realize that the police is a civilian authority. It's not an authority like the army or other things. So the biggest result that we got out of these events is that both the people and the police have discovered one another. And I think the performance of the police that we see nowadays is very positive, and it's a different relationship. As I said, both parties have benefited from these events and matured. Police forces are, each family in Egypt must have somebody in.
Yes, that was hurt,
right,
or lost.
Right. So everybody benefited from this experience on the 25th of January. It has a meaning for the police as a feast, a day to celebrate. But again, it is for the Egyptians, it's a day that they seek freedom and dignity, actually.
Heroic performance, or the heroism of police in Egypt is not a new issue. It was started years back and was exemplified in one of the large examples in 1952. How do you see how they have contributed in Egyptian history?
You see, it was obvious, of course, what happened in 1951, which is during the era of late Fuad Sirajuddin. He was the the interior minister at the time, and the British troops have surrounded the headquarters of the police in Ismailia, and he gave orders not to surrender the building and not to bring down the Egyptian flag, keep it up, and fight till the last bullet. Though it was not a competitive fight, and it was obvious that the police forces are ready to sacrifice their lives. Police always was there for the Egyptians. We are developing our services, modernizing everything, that when it comes to the daily requirements of the people. And I think after being or reaching stability, the police is carrying out or carried out a big responsibility in fighting terrorism. We have to know the role that the police forces have played and the sacrifices. They sacrificed a lot. They have lost a lot of good men in the battle against terrorism. The young officers and the soldiers actually who sacrificed their lives in the battle against terrorism will always be remembered. So the police always have proven that they are there for the Egyptians, and we owe the police a lot as civilians. We owe the police forces a lot because of the stability that we are enjoying today is due to the fact that the police is properly almost annihilated all the terrorist activities in Egypt, and now they're taking care of regular criminal activities in the society.
How has the Egyptian person evolved since January 25th? And when I say the Egyptian person, I don't mean just the adults. I'm also talking about the youth, because I remember when I was my kid's age, I was not that involved in politics. If I compare myself at my kid's age, my kids talk more politics than I do. They lived maybe more politics than my generation did. How have we evolved? How has the youth evolved over the past few years, in your opinion?
Well, I think the experience that we went through since January 25th was a unique experience because Egyptians always spoke about 1952 as a revolution. Well, I have some reservations over this maybe because I'm a Wafdi, but again, what happened on the 25th of January and what followed, because actually we have phase 1 and phase 2 in my opinion.
Yes.
Phase 2 is a correction to certain faults that took place on the 25th of January. But definitely the January 25th will always be remembered as a day that the people said their word. We want something and we will be heard. And the people discovered that they could do whatever they want to do and bring down whom they did not want to. So I think as of January 25th, 2011, Egyptians have reached a point in life where there is no go back. We always think of what is after that, what's next. We have changed a lot. In my opinion, the slogans we're raising today, which is a new republic and so forth, this is an extension for the new era. I think the beginning of the new era started on January 25th, 2011. Maybe we are facing some pressures, but we have to realize that we came a long way. If we just remember what happened during these days and the instability and the chaos that was taking place, all of this is engraved in our minds and our hearts. And I think when we look around in the area and see other countries what's happening, we will appreciate very much what we're having today. Maybe we are suffering from certain pressures, but this is labor pains actually.
Yes.
We are. This is the birth of a new era, and I think within the next 5 years, we will see the harvest of the fruits that we actually grew on the January 25th.
In your opinion, how should we move forward? We've had a lot of sacrifices. Police, military, people.
Very true.
A heavy price to pay for freedom, for justice, and for countering different agendas. A price that we paid and we're still paying in our fight against terrorism. How should we move forward? What is expected? Maybe because we just wrapped up a youth forum. What is expected from the youth? Because their fathers and their grandfathers have paid a heavy price. What's their role? What should be their role?
Sincerity is the name of the game. I mean, the coming era requires a lot of sincerity and transparency. And I think we're maturing to the point where in very near future, we will enjoy the same democratic climate that all the European countries and the US type democracy. We're maturing enough to be able to practice democracy in a patriotic way and be sincere while we are running our country, because this is the era of the youth, and I think we're depending on the youth and the purity of the youth. Being pure definitely requires that you be honest with yourself and honest with your country and honest with your God. So the responsibility is big. I think once we are honest with ourselves, we will be able to practice or have more freedom of speech, freedom of expressing their opinions, and I think the youth will be able to have a better life than what we had in our times, because there were certain restrictions when we were young on that.
January 25th saw the birth of a lot of political parties, saw the birth of people talking politics, really. How do you see the evolvement of that? How do you see the representation of that? And I'm asking you this question because you belong to one of the biggest, the fathers of political parties in Egypt, and maybe expectations from those political parties was big.
Actually, what we've seen is a tsunami of parties. Actually, you have better than 100 parties today in Egypt, and I think a lot of the heads of these parties actually have the feeling of heroism and leadership. I mean, everybody is a hero in his own party, and I think most of these parties they have the same principles, and I think they ought to coordinate and merge in 4 or 5 parties. It would be better, but again,
you said this a few years ago.
yes, and I'm repeating
I'm
it
asking
again.
you the same question I asked, and I was wondering if your answer was
yeah,
very different.
no, I said also that there is
Yes.
too many chiefs and very few Indians.
Yes, I remember that.
So actually, the number of parties is too big for our nation, actually. And I think if these parties are wise and sincere and they would like to render a service to the country, they ought to coordinate and merge. Self-denying is something, a slogan that all these politicians should raise, actually. This country requires a lot of sincerity and purity. I don't think anybody who practices politics is aiming for a personal benefit. I think this is dirty politics, and I think Egypt deserves better than this.
Youth, and this is a country that has over 60% of its population from the young generation. How politicized you see our future leadership is? Because when we talk about the future, we have to talk about our children, our grandchildren. How politicized are they? How focused are they?
I hope that the pressures of life will not really divert their attention from being patriotic, actually. Egypt deserves a lot of sincerity and purity. And for a country with 120 million population, I think we should have a number of very talented and smart young people very soon that we have to notice after the conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, and the parliament, actually also the parliament includes a number of young people, the Senate also, but I still hope that we see young people with vision and be able to carry out the responsibility, because Egypt is a big responsibility and it requires a lot of brains and pure hearts. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping to see a number of young people very soon coming out of the parties. By the way, we have a number of big parties today, but nevertheless, I expect more than this from the young people in Egypt.
Social media played a very big role on the 25th of January. Social media is the #1 mean of receiving and disseminating information, especially for the young generation. How do you think it is contributing to the maturity and the shape-up of our young generations? Because this is a means of communication with no barriers.
Definitely, the social media is a major tool today in communication, and I think it's probably the #1 on the agenda. If anybody wants to play politics, the social media will be the first tool that he thinks of. Of course, there's certain disadvantages, but nothing is perfect. I think you have the cons, and so Definitely the social media is a very important element in nowadays, and it's developing actually. There is something new every day, so the means of communication is improving, and whether we like it or not, the whole world is becoming a small village, as they say.
Yes.
And we are part of this world, and we will not be able to isolate ourselves from what's happening around us and the rest of the world. So definitely we're gonna react to what's happening around us, and definitely we will see a new Egypt within the next 5 years. It will be a completely different era, and I think also a different type of lifestyle.
January 25th was a turning point in Egyptian history. It shed light on a lot of issues, internally and externally. What message? Today marks the 11th anniversary of that revolution. On that day, what lesson and what message did Egypt give to the world, in your opinion? What can you say what did we deliver to the world? What message was delivered after all we've been through?
When the people wants to do something, they will. I mean, regardless of anything. Nobody will stop the people if the people decide to take matters in their own hands. Definitely, this is a lesson and a letter to everybody. Once the people and the mass decides to deliver a message, they will deliver it, in their own way. And in Egypt, the message was clear. Thanks heaven that the message have reached the late president, and he actually resigned after a short while, probably on the 11th of February.
Yes.
And I think the message was loud and clear. Not only the Egyptian people are capable of doing what they've done, but it's a message to all the people around the world that nobody can, just cancel the minds and the hearts of the people. One day, the people will wake up and say their words.
The aim was to rip or divide the Egyptian rank and file. Your comment?
I think these trials are, will continue, but the Egyptians have matured actually. I think standing together is that gives us a reason to be strong. I mean, we're all in the same trench actually. Whatever trials that the enemies of Egypt tried or will try in the future, we have to realize that standing in the back of one another will always protect Egypt till the end.
How have we evolved over the past 11 years in foreign relations or in diplomacy, in your opinion?
We achieved a lot, to be honest with you, because we have a leadership that wanted to deliver a message to everybody that we do not have any hostile feelings toward anybody, even when we had problems with a country that was threatening our lives. We did not really, take any any aggression moves against anybody. We're trying to deliver a peace message to everybody. We're trying to have excellent relationship with the whole world. For the first time, we have a leadership that is trying to really, reach out and connect with the rest of the world and try to convince all the countries that Egypt is the oasis of peace and tranquility and stability. So I think foreign politics, when it comes to that, we're in good shape, and we achieved our goals. Hopefully that our trip of internal development will, the infrastructure and so forth within the next few years will be over, and we will see the fruits of what's happening now.
I was going to ask you about economically. And the backbone of any economics is to work on the build-up, the revamping of the infrastructure, the roads, projects. How do you see that also coming through economically, taking into account that we've had a tough 3 years with COVID-19? The whole world really has suffered, but even how the test of the economies was COVID-19 was really even a strong test to some of the world economies.
Let me put it this way. Let's put aside the COVID-19 and look into our politics that we are practicing today. I think any politics that doesn't have a positive return on economy is a failure. And I think our economy have stabilized for some time, and this reflects that we are on the right track when it comes to politics. Hopefully we will be able to attract a lot of investments, and this is what's happening. I'm involved personally in this, and we are attracting a lot of foreign investments, and this will help the country to carry out its development projects, agriculture, industrial, so forth. It will help also the government to carry out the program of redistributing the population in remote areas, Western Desert, the Eastern Desert, and so forth, because of the condensation of the population in the Delta and the valley. All of this requires time, of course.
Yes.
And a lot of mistakes, a lot of wrong deeds took place in the last 50 years. We went through a lot of wars and adventures and so forth, but I think the short period after this revolution till today, which is 10 years, and especially 5 of them are gone, but the last 5 years have witnessed actually something miraculous is happening on the ground. And as I said, no success will ever take place without paying the price, and we are paying maybe the price, being under pressure financially, so forth, but this is the price we're going to have to pay to reach a stage where Egypt will be called a great nation, because this is our aim.
Conflict resolution. We're living in a continent that has numerous conflicts. All our borders really are suffering. How would you describe our role in conflict resolution, which in a way is also our national security, because you're east, you're west, you're south. I mean, this is national security here.
Actually, what we're doing today, we're trying to stabilize and assist our neighbors. Actually, Egypt is playing a positive role in the west, in Libya, playing a positive role also in Sudan, in the south. We're trying to stabilize everything, and because the stability of our neighbors reflects on our stability. And we are a role model for the rest of the countries in the area, actually, in spite of the fact that we have a pandemic and everything, but still our our trip to modernize Egypt did not really stop in spite of the pandemic. So we're doing that, but again, we're trying to assist our brothers in Libya to stabilize, to reach a free elected government. Also in the south, our brothers in Sudan have started the trip, and in the end, I think it's the will of the nation that will reveal actually in Sudan, and we will or our brothers in Sudan will achieve what they want for the good of their country. So we're playing a positive role in the whole area. Hopefully, the war in Yemen will stop eventually. Egypt actually is watching things very carefully. We did not really get involved in this particular area because of geographic reasons, but we are in the same trench with our brothers in the Gulf, watching closely what's happening in Yemen and the recent events in the United Arab Emirates. It's not really a good mark. So Egypt is playing a positive role in the area. We are a keystone in the area. Let's keep our fingers crossed, and soon enough we might be able to, the trip of development in Egypt will reflect on other countries, and we will have, the Libya that we've always known and the Sudan we've always known.
Mm-hmm. One of the issues that surfaced loud and clear in this region is terrorism in 2011. Mm-hmm. How has Egypt contributed in that battle?
Actually, during these days, actually, that was a very pure move from the young people. The whole nation actually was in the streets at those days. But after January 28th, some of the radical groups thought they might be able to surface on and try to take over what the people have started.
Yes.
And these moves have revealed their ugly face, and they started their terrorist attacks and to terrify the people and attack the army, attack the police, but again, thanks to the Egyptian police and later on also the army, that they stood together and managed to annihilate these aggressions that the people were subject to. These days are gone, but again, Egypt still have to be very careful and watch it, because the enemy is still watching, and will seek any weakness sign that we show to try to disturb the stability that Egypt is enjoying today.
Mm-hmm. Engineer Hassan Shaaban, before we wrap up, what message would you be delivering to the Egyptians on the Revolution Day, on the Police Day? What message do Egyptians need to hear?
We paid a dear price at those days, actually. A lot of people and a lot of very dear friends we've lost during this era. Army, police, young people in Egypt made a lot of sacrifices. A lot of bloodshed was there. I think we started a non-stop trip, and nothing is gained without paying a price. We started, to build great Egypt again, and unless we hold our breath a little bit to support the government to reach our dream, actually fulfill our dream. I'm asking everybody to bear a little bit more pressure till we reach this happy ending and see our country again where it belongs with the great nations, actually. Mm-hmm. This is the only advice. Nothing comes easy. These are labor pain. And if we want to see Egypt great again, we're going to have to bear with it. We're building a fourth pyramid today.
What message to outside Egypt?
Actually, I would like to see the foreign powers who are actually causing instability in the area to take one step to the back and give a chance to the countries in this area to be able to fulfill a dream. I like to see a Middle East common market. I like to see a lot of development in the area. I like to see petro money invested in the Middle East, in poor countries. I like to see the standard of living is rising, education, health services. All of this will not happen unless these the policies that certain powers are applying in the Middle East, we deserve a better life, we deserve a better chance to live, and we do not require foreign help to help us live again. We have, Syria is completely distracted. Iraq is suffering. Yemen is no longer there. Libya is trying to raise up again. And I'm asking all the foreign, powers that had something to do with all this destruction in the area to try to give us a chance to rebuild what happened, actually.
Engineer Hassan Shaaban, thank you very much for your fruitful
thank you.
Message and passion.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us. Wish you a very pleasant evening, and we'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.